Hey everybody, it's Coach Sal here, episode 8 of the Thinking Body Revival. Got a new magazine for you today. That's from the February 1934 edition of Physical Culture. Love that the tagline there is the Personal Problem magazine. Interesting. There'll be some excerpts from that magazine that will be up on the Patreon in the future. Some cool articles in there. Today, though, what we're going to talk about is kind of picking up where we left off last week. We're going to talk about the La Sierra High School in California, their fitness program, their phys ed program that they developed, that was developed there by a phys ed teacher in the 50s and came to prominence in the early 60s. And it's of particular interest to me because it's the phys ed program that I grew up with here in my hometown, where I still work. We had a fantastic phys ed program. We had a fantastic sport program here in my town of Millburn. Many state champions, many professional athletes. Many athletes went on to play high-level college and be super successful. We had a great culture of sport, and it was all based on what we got in our junior high phys ed class, which I did talk about a little bit last week. Junior high back in the day was 7, 8, 9, and then you went to the high school for sophomore, junior, senior year. It was kind of a call to arms for us. It was a great program. And the reason I'm bringing it up today, on the heels of what we talked about last week with JFK's post that was in the 1962 Sports Illustrated. Nope, sorry about that. The December of 1960 Sports Illustrated, where he wrote the post, or wrote the article called "The Soft American." The phys ed program in La Sierra had already taken steps to address some of the problems, and that's the whole point here. We're not just wishing we were back in the past or saying things from the past were better just because they were in the past. We're going to offer these as solutions to the problems we have today. We could fix our problems that we have with childhood obesity and obesity across the population, our lack of physical competency. We could fix that if we just look to the past and look at these very simple methods that we're going to go over today and talk about in some more detail. I'm excited for this because it has a real connection for me, because not only did I do it as a kid, it's been part of my life ever since, and it's a huge part of what I do with my clients, whether they are my professional athletes, my college athletes, my regular folk, or especially my kids come to me for athletic development, and we start from the ground up with what I learned in my phys ed, which was based on the La Sierra program. So it's going to be a great one. I'm going to demonstrate some of the things, and we'll talk about how you can incorporate this program into your workout. But you know what time it is. It's time to flip the clock. Hey, everyone. So I was really excited to do this particular episode. Not that I'm not excited in general, but there's a real strong connection here with this material. And as I was doing research for the show and looking into all of these aspects of our history, of our health and fitness history, I had always known about this program, but really didn't know how tied in it was at a national level, and the origins of what has been a huge part of my life, because athletics has always been a part of my life. Went to college in large part to a great place to be at college, Lehigh University, because I was there to play some football, and opened up a whole new world to me with the educational component, with the life component, with the sport component. Open doors for me that would have never been possible if I didn't have that great athletic experience, which started back when I was in 7th grade. Athletics were always a part of my life. Sports was always a part of my life and my friends, and it was all the things we talk about that the current generations have lost. Free play, going to the field and playing tag and playing hide and seek and kill the man with the ball and dodgeball and playing organized sports with your friends without a coach. Baseball, basketball, football, street hockey, you name it, we played it, and it was a huge part of our lives, and it was a huge part of our development and our athletic success going through college, through high school into college. Many of my friends played high level sports in a wide variety of endeavors, from traditional sports to what at the time were less traditional sports, fencing and some of the other lesser known sports, swimming and diving. Back in my day, we had very few of those schools engaged in that in New Jersey, and we had some of the best around were in our school system, and a lot of it had to do with this foundation that we were given in phys ed. There's a reason I repeat some of these themes. First of all, because the themes resonate, because they matter. Just like in movies, whether it's James Bond, whether it's Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible, whether it's Ripley in the Aliens, whether it's sci-fi or whether it's a spy, we gravitate to certain storylines and certain narratives, and because they work, because they connect with us, we connect with it, and that's why in the health and fitness space here, and what I'm doing, we're repeating these themes. Because they make sense for us, we connect to it, but also because we need to tell you this. People need to hear this, because we need to combat the nonsense that's been thrown at us for the last 50 years, and that has forced us to lose our way, whether it's eating, whether it's exercise. What's particularly interesting about this to me is, again, to review real quickly, Eisenhower recognized that we were losing our edge physically in the 50s during his presidency. JFK picked up the mantle and, again, wrote that piece, The Soft American, that was in the Sports Illustrated. That's going to be available. I'm going to make that available this week. You could read it. It's a very short piece, but like super on point and resonates today, makes total sense today, isn't dated whatsoever. Now, some may feel the concepts are corny, but if you feel some of the concepts are corny, then I would say the problem is more with you than it is with us, or with me and us who don't feel it's corny. At the same time, this high school in California, La Sierra High School, which doesn't exist anymore, there was a phys ed teacher there, Coach Stan Laprati, who developed this program, and it was based on what he went through in the military. A lot of our physical education curriculum, what did pass for phys ed, what was in the public's eye, in the public's mind with regard to fitness, was driven by the military, right? The military needed fit people for the fighting force because it was a draft. Everybody had to go. And we needed to have as many healthy and capable people as possible. So really the military set the tone. That's where this program has these military roots, because Laprati was a World War II vet. And by 1960, he developed this in the 50s, and by 1962, over 4,000 schools had adopted it. Now, I don't know at what point my high school did, my junior high school did, but by the late 60s, this was in place. Because, and how I know that is because in our phys ed class, we had leaderboards that were up in the gym all around in this variety of events, individual events, and then they had combined some of these performances to really tease out to see who the real high performers were. And there were some dates when I was in middle school, which would have been in the mid 70s, from the late 60s, 1967, for instance, was one of the records I remember. And it was a big deal for us to strive to break that, something that's been totally lost in phys ed these days. It's a joke. And it wasn't about sports. It was not about taking the kid who was already the good basketball player and have them dominate in basketball in gym class. It was a group setting where everybody was encouraged to be able to meet these benchmarks. And I will tell you, as a good athlete, I struggled with some of these, especially when I was a younger kid in 7th grade before I kind of matured. I was young for my grade and physically young as well in the maturation process, and struggled with things like rope climbing and pull-ups. But because of this group setting, and because you weren't favored or singled out because you were already the good athlete in whatever sport, you were forced to push. And that's what this program did. There was no equipment. So again, it ties into this theme here that We don't need technology. We don't need equipment. We don't need stuff to be good, to be fit, to be healthy. And what was great about our phys ed is it exposed us to things we otherwise would not have, that kids today have no idea about. Again, the rope climbing, the pegboard climbing. We all had to engage in wrestling. We all had to engage in the various track and field disciplines, whether it was shot put, discus, a moderate distance run, sprints for sure, high jump, long jump, triple jump. Those are things that really develop athleticism, and really is a lost art, a lost activity these days. I think more kids should be involved in some kind of track program than currently are, because they're in all these other sports that have more sizzle, that get more attention, but that don't develop your athleticism as track and field does. It started with very simple things like learning how to breathe properly, making sure you had the proper equipment. That was a big thing. We had to have a jock. We had to wear a uniform in phys ed. Everyone started with these one color shorts, and then as you earned your way up, you progressed. You got red shorts. If you were lucky, you got gold shorts. Then you got a patch. Then you got stars, and it was all based on achievement. There were kids that had the highest level of achievement that were not team sport athletes, that did not come into our system as, oh, he was the stud in whatever sport. They were kids that were developed. And our phys ed staff was phenomenal because they didn't play favorites. They didn't take the kids who were already good in sports and just channel them into a program that made them better at the detriment of everyone else. We use that classic cliche of a rising tide lifts all boats, and there was no better example of that than in our phys ed class. The Look magazine, which was a kind of a people life magazine from back in the day, in 1962 did a feature article about this gym class and how it created fit Americans, which was something to be proud of, and obviously proud of that it was reported in that way. So we're going to give you a little overview of what they did, and then I'm going to show you some of the key elements and how you can work this into your program. In general, these were all calisthenics, jumping jacks, and some of the key moves I will demonstrate. And they were arranged 15 exercises done consecutively, repeating some of them, push-ups, jumping jacks, they're all in there. I'm going to show you some of them. They were done in small sets, short sets, but with no rest. You'd get through that. Sometimes you were doing five push-ups, 8 jumping jacks, 8 leg drives, 8 squat thrusts, and then you'd go back to the beginning and repeat that, so that in 15 minutes, you went through this routine 5 times. And you were raring to go, and then we would move into whatever the sport focus was, whether it was gymnastics, whether it was tumbling, whether it was basketball or track and field or soccer, whatever it was we were doing in that particular rotation. We did that 15 minutes first, and that was the beauty of this system. And we're going to take our next segment of the show, and I'm just going to go over some of the key movements for you, and we'll provide the order in which you could do them and try it for yourself. All right, we'll see you in a few. All right, so we're going to go through some of the exercises, not in any particular order, and then I'll show you the order. I'll post the order so you could do this workout on your own. Everyone knows how to do jumping jacks, okay? I always cue long arms and full range of motion and get your hands to touch overhead, right? So it slows it down a little bit, but it makes it actually more difficult. You get a lot of this sometimes. Don't do that. Make use of that full range of make use of that full range of motion, hands touch overhead, arms long. Push-ups. I've always been a stickler with push-ups. You see a lot of variations, or actually bad technique. They're not variations, they're just bad technique. This program, based on the military way to do push-ups, you'll see the term 2 count. That means it's on a cadence, down, up. Down, up. I can hear it drilled into my head from our phys ed teacher. That's the concept. You finish a full range again. Your nose or your chest should hit the ground, not your thighs or your hips or your stomach. You move in one coherent piece. So you get I always say your push-ups, here's a little aside. If you do push-ups at the gym on a mat, and you don't want your hands on the floor. I think that's the reason I see this. People have the mat, and the mat is narrow, and their hands are here. No good. If you don't want to put your hands on the floor, put the mat this way so you could put your hands in a position they should be. If you were going to push something heavy, that's where your hands should be. Not here, not here, right? You're right here. So you would go down, up, down, up. You always stop. You come to a complete stop. You lock the arms out when you do a push-up. Completely changes the exercise. It makes it better and it makes it harder. One of the things I love is demonstrating exercises that are lost. I call them roots exercises. Here's a great one. Windmills, right? Bad shoulders from years of abuse before I knew what I was doing, right? You could go windmills forward. You could go windmills back. Again, full range of motion. When I would do this in a team sports setting, I would have it be like if there's someone before, I would tell the kids if there's someone standing before you, in front of you or behind you, you're trying to reach them. Reach them there and try to reach them behind you. Very simple, but again, when you use in conjunction with these other more movement-oriented exercises, they help you improve your range of motion. So that's windmills. You could do them both forward and back. Full bends, you could do them a couple of different ways. This is how I do them. You start up and you go all the way down. And you know, it's quite common for at the beginning, no matter how flexible you normally are, to not be able to get all the way to the ground. For me, at my age, with the things that come with age and having done a lot, sometimes you're not raring to go right off the bat. Again, that's why you always take your time. Full bends, you go from overhead, and then you come all the way down and go as low as you can. You don't want to rush it. Again, you want to always have that nice full sweeping range of motion. Straddle hops are really like doing jumping jacks without the arms, right? So that's a straddle hop, and you would do, in this context, you would do 50, and a stride hop would be this. So you're staying in one place, and your feet are splitting as they would when you were in your running stride. And then you have your toe hops, which are now a little more plyometric in there. I don't think they were calling them plyometrics in the 60s, but conceptually they knew, they were thinking you needed to have some of that quick twitch, that quick off the ground, on the ground quickness that helped you with your sprinting and all your agility moves. So those are the toe hops. Here's another move that's been bastardized for the worse over the years, thanks to certain styles of training. People call them burpees. They're called squat thrusts. That's the true term, squat thrusts. So there's a bunch of ways you could do them. I'm going to show you how you could modify them for the population that might have difficulty. Usually adult population, they haven't done a lot, okay? So we're going to go through a couple of those variations because this is one of the key exercises in this whole workout. All right, so this is the first modification. So this is called the squat thrust. There's the one leg at a time squat thrust, which I'm going to show you, and the one leg at a time squat thrust, which is done on a box. It's to accommodate those that might not be ready to get all the way down to the ground. And you could use different level boxes, different height boxes. Toes against, bend, 1, 2, 3, 4, up. Up. Key thing here, keep your weight over your hands so that when you put your foot back, you're there, not there. A lot of people don't have confidence in their ability to hold themselves here, so they arch backward. You want to stay over your hands there. Okay, that's the first variation. Okay, the second variation is the same thing to the ground. Hands on the ground, 1, 2, 3, 4, up. You want to get your hands and feet as close as possible. You want to have knees bent, stand all the way up, take your time. A lot of people want to stand up before that second foot is back underneath because they're not mobile enough. what we want to do is make sure they keep both hands down, get both feet under you. And then here's the real one. Right? That's a squat thrust. It's not a burpee. You don't collapse to the ground. You don't come up and do a bad jump. You do a squat thrust. You stay tight through your middle. You get your hands on the ground. Your feet come back, forward and back. Get up and stand up. You could do that same variation on the box. Okay? For me, again, the first few that I do to work through my general stiffness before I'm really warmed up, bridge your fingers, then get your hands flat on the ground. That's a squat thrust. It's not a burpee. It's a squat thrust. Pet peeve of mine. Not a burpee, squat thrust. Next one, mountain climbers. Some people call them leg drives. Either is good. It's basically running up, getting in a push-up position, 1 foot forward, and then you run your feet. Your feet touch the ground, under your chest, at the top of the stride, and at the back of your stride. So you're moving steadily, you're keeping your hips relatively level, and you're going on a steady pace. So you're working standing, you're working bending, you're working at the horizontal position. You're doing all the things you need to do in a workout. Squat, lunge, push, pull, bend, rotate, and brace. All of those things are being done in this 15-minute, what's supposed to be a warm-up, but is going to serve as a workout. All right? Next segment, we'll put it all together for you. Thanks. So as I said in the opening, we have solutions to our problems, and they're very simple solutions, and they don't require money. They require a little effort. They require some courage, because I think it was out of style to want to push kids and have this competition amongst healthy competition amongst kids in a gym class. I know for a fact there was the movement in this town that felt it was unfair because kids were being singled out and being praised because of what was thought to be a natural ability, which is total nonsense. And it's scary to think that the same people that could come up with this program allowed that kind of a thinking to ruin what was so important to the lives of people my age and everybody in that school that grew up with it. And it's ludicrous to take that position that because you might have a physical gift and you're being highlighted because of it, that somehow is bad and unfair to the others. I've never heard that same argument applied to the kid who was gifted in the classroom, and that there should be some kind of diminution of that achievement because, well, they're naturally smart or they're naturally intelligent, which frankly is bullshit. And it's really troubling that that's what was done, almost as if it was done to purposely ruin the physical state that we were in at the time. Healthy, strong, capable, both in mind and body. I'll have you know that the school system that I was in, Milburn, at the time was recognized as one of the top in the country, not just in New Jersey, top school system in New Jersey. Had both the best athletes and we had the best students. And I've been in numerous schools that are in that same position. And those schools that have good athletes have that culture where it's important to be good, where competition isn't a bad thing, where we're not going to not celebrate the physical because it makes the people who can't do that feel badly. That's too bad. That's how life is. Right in front of us, we have the solution to our problem. And you could start yourself with your workouts. And if you have kids, get your kids doing this. And when you look at the crap that we have to contend with every day, with the food that they're pushing at us, that they're telling us is good for us, that the medical treatments that they're giving us, that they're telling us are necessary, which when you look at our outcomes, we spend more money than any industrialized country and we have the worst outcome. We have the highest maternal mortality rate. That's in other words, more mothers die in childbirth here than in other countries that are at our economic level. And we have a lowering lifespan. Our lifespan has actually dropped down from where it was several years ago and a generation ago for sure. So for the so-called experts telling us what we're doing now is the best way to be is actually wrong and demonstrably wrong beyond a reasonable doubt with the evidence that we have. And it ties into what we're going to talk about next week, this concept of timeline superiority. People feel that because we occupy this point in time, we're superior to those who came before us. And what we've seen in our health and fitness arena disproves that. We're not better off now simply because we're here in 2025. We're actually worse off. I tell you for a fact, we are worse off. Kids are worse off right now than they were in 1975. That's basically 50 years ago. Our kids were better and stronger and faster and more capable than they are today. We have to learn from the past, not because we're nostalgic for it, not because we're romanticizing it, but because the past set us up for success that we haven't enjoyed. It's Low Sierra, no tech, no gadgets, no gimmick. Here's how the workout goes. Again, you should be able to get through this in 15 minutes. They're short sets. You do these without stopping. You go 8 jumping jacks, right? That's quick. 1, 2, 3, right? 8 jumping jacks, quick. You go into 5 2-count push-ups, as I demonstrated. Down, up, pause. Important. 8 windmills. Demonstrated the windmills. Back to 5 push-ups. Then you do 8 full bends. That's where you reach up overhead, bend and touch your toes. Back to 5 push-ups. 50 straddle hops. By this point, you're going to be, man, this is much tougher than I thought it was going to be. Trust me. Then you go back to the push-ups. 5. The numbers stay the same. Now you go to 50 stride hops, right? Straddle hops was similar to jumping jacks. Stride hops, you're splitting your feet front and back. 50. Back to 5 push-ups. Now you do the toe hops, right? That's where you quickly bounce. Don't let your feet hit flat. You're on the balls of your feet. 5 quick ones. Back to 5 push-ups. Now you get, I remember this as a kid in gym class, you hit those 8 squat thrusts. 8, that's not easy after doing all that. You do 8 mountain climbers. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's every time your right foot goes, that's 1, 2, 3 until you get to 8. So it's really, if you're going to count, you would count to 16. And you're back to 5 push-ups. 5 2-count push-ups. That's the order, and then you repeat that. You repeat that 5 times. For most people, that's going to be your workout. Get after it. And it was a great concept, and it still is a great concept. You're hitting all these areas. You are certainly getting your heart rate up. You are doing things in a way that you're going to need to do if you are even a recreative athlete. You're going to bend and jump and touch your toes and have to get to the ground and get up off the ground and move with your heart rate up. And you're going to have to do those things in conjunction. This gets you ready for that. All right. So I'm excited for this. I hope you guys try this. I hope I hear from you on this. Again, you could contact me on X at Sal Marinello. My email is coachsalm@proton.me. On Patreon, just Coach Sal. You can find me. You're going to see my page. You'll see the excerpts from the booklet, which will be released monthly. And then there's going to be video accompaniments. If you're on the second level of subscription for the Patreon, you'll get a video to accompany that excerpt. And every month you'll get the excerpt and you'll get the video. So check it out. My training, thankfully, is booked. So I'm not going to be offering that right now, but you could still DM me, and I'll have some programming options available for those who would like me to do some programming for you. You could follow it on your own, and we'll have another method by which I can keep you on the right path. All right, so I'm excited for this again. I can't wait for you guys to get after it, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.